Okay, so tonight we are talking about branding yourself on Instagram. And I know a lot of you are really excited about this call because I feel like a lot of people get really lost with Instagram and like overthink Instagram. So we want to make it simple tonight. And Haley and I want to tell you some of the ways that we have branded ourselves. I want to let you know that it's probably not nearly as complicated as you think. So the first thing I want you to do is get something to write with. Either, I don't care if it's a piece of paper, I don't care if you take notes on your computer, it does not matter to me. And then if you're not on mute, go ahead and put yourself on mute too. I can hear some background noise from somewhere. So a piece of paper or on your computer is fine. And if you don't have either, well, you obviously have a computer. So okay, first question I want you to answer. Who can you not live without? You can include pets too. They are whose. Second question, what is an unpopular opinion you have?
So when we had to get off 320, I was just like, well, is Paige gonna send a link? For me, it was already this one.
Did you just
That's
it?
yeah.
Okay, well, we're answering questions. So the first one is, who can you not live without? Write it down or like take a note on computer. Who can you not live without? What's an unpopular opinion you have? Number 3, what food can you not live without? If you could wear the same outfit for life, what would it be? If you had all the money and time in the world, what would you do with your life? What would your day to day look like? What would you like to spend time doing? Who would it be with? Where would you go? Who would you serve?
I think I'm just slow. Can you put these in the chat?
Yes, I can, I think. I'll put them in after, probably. Well, actually, I'll probably do it when Haley's talking.
I can start putting them in the chat for you, Paige.
Sweet. What body part are you most insecure about? What is something painful you have survived? Doesn't necessarily have to be physical. It could be physical, emotional, anything. It could also be your current reality. Maybe you are currently surviving it. What's one word your best friend would use to describe you? And then lastly, what or who impacts your life more than anything else? So you may not have had enough time to answer every single one of those questions, but they are in the chat. And I want you to take time at some point this week and really think about those questions and answer them, because the answers to these questions, those are your brand on Instagram. The thing is, as coaches, we all have the same goal. We are all offering the same thing. We're all launching Bar Blend at the same time. We're all launching 10 rounds at the same time. And if you are only showing Beachbody related things, health and fitness related things, nutrition related things, you are not standing out from the crowd. And I know you can rack your brain over and over and over again, and it can stress you out about like, okay, how do I stand out? Like, what do I do that's different? When all you need to do is reflect on who you actually are, and that alone is going to make you stand out, because you are different than every other person on Instagram. And you might think that sounds silly, that's so cliche, that's so stupid, like my life is so boring, but no, it's not. For example, this is a very silly example, but how many of you here have a dog? Raise your hand if you have a dog. Okay, raise your hand if you have a golden doodle named Murph. Exactly. None of you have a golden doodle named Murph. So being a dog mom does not make me stand out, because how many of us here are dog moms? But when I'm talking about Murph, part of my brand, you guys, is the fact that I have a golden doodle and his name is Murph and he has a silly personality. I cannot tell you how many times, this is just one silly example of something that had branded me. I cannot tell you how many times last year, it would be the morning, I'd be having to run out to school. And I don't know if you follow me or know anything about Murph, but he is either like Tasmanian devil or like flop on the ground. I can't move him because he's 55 pounds. So I can't tell you how many times I'd have to run out to school. I'd be like, Murph, let's go. Come on, get up. Let's go outside. Nothing. He would not move. So I would just film myself, because this was my real life. Like, I just thought it was silly and funny. I would literally take his legs and drag him on my wood floor and like drag him outside. And people would comment on that. Literally every single time I had to do it in the morning, people would comment about it. They would message me. They would say how funny they thought it was, or that they related to it, whatever it was. They loved seeing that, because that just made me relatable. It made me normal. So I don't have like 100 tips of how you can brand yourself, but I do want you to know that branding yourself is being extremely in tune with who you are, what you're passionate about, what you like, and then sharing those things on Instagram. So really, I just have 4 examples for you of how I've done it. And I'm not telling you these examples so you can copy them, because you probably can't, because you are not me. But I want you to start thinking about, what are those things that you do? What are those things that you say? What are those things that you love that are so ingrained in who you are that you forget that it's unique? You like those things that you're like, doesn't everybody think that? Like, doesn't everybody think that Starbucks is like the best coffee shop on earth? They don't, but I do. And that's something I post about all the time. So my 4 examples of things that have like really taken off on my page. Number 1, Cauliflower pizza. Last year, when I tried cauliflower pizza for the first time ever, I obsessed over it. And I shared about it because I was obsessed with it. I had zero intentions of people thinking anything about it. My actual intention was to get free cauliflower pizza from the company. That's why I was sharing it so much. And that actually happened. But what happened was, I shared it so often because I love pizza anyway. And I found a healthy substitute for this unhealthy meal that I liked to have all the time. People started tagging me when they would go try cauliflower pizza. I got tagged probably 5 times a week from people trying cauliflower pizza, people showing me different kinds of cauliflower pizza, and when they would have it for dinner, they would tag me. Do you know what that means? That means when they saw cauliflower pizza, or when they ate cauliflower pizza, they thought of me, which is insane. I didn't know them. They just knew me from Instagram. They knew that I loved cauliflower pizza, so they connected that with me, which branded me. And not only that, when I got shared to their pages on Instagram, my name was exposed to probably thousands and thousands of people. That is free advertisement. I don't have to pay for promoting if people are thinking of me when they see certain things. The second thing, which if you follow me or you girls on my team, you obviously know this, I love Starbucks. And it took me forever to make Starbucks part of my brand. It's actually so much part of my brand now that I put it in my bio because it's just something that took off. So I have made it a thing that I drink Starbucks every single Friday. It's my balance time. I don't get it during the week. Before I started coaching, I would have Starbucks like 3 times a week. So with budget and wanting to be healthier, of course, I stopped getting it 3 times a week, but I just made it my thing when I was a teacher to get it on Fridays because like I survived the week. It's Friday. I'm going to go get my Starbucks. And I used to just post that and that was it. And then I had one of my coach friends, she was like, why don't you share your recipe for your Starbucks? Like, why don't you share what you're drinking? And I was like, yeah, I guess I could do that. I didn't really think much about it. And it took me probably a couple months. And one day I was like, oh yeah, duh, I should share my recipe for that. And you guys, it has taken off. I still share my Starbucks every single Friday. In my bio, part of my bio is creator of best Starbucks drink ever. People ask me for my recipe all the time. When I share my recipe in a post form and I write it down, I tell people to save it, and it gets up to 50 saves a week on Instagram because people want my recipe. And every single time, well, not every time, who knows how many people are ordering it, but I get tagged in my Starbucks drink every single week. There's no doubt about it. I'm going to get tagged in it because people, when they see Starbucks and they follow me, they think of me. Or when Starbucks creamers launched, they came out with a toffee nut one recently, and they have a white chocolate one. And people started tagging me in those because they relate Starbucks, and especially those 2 flavors, because that's what I use, they relate those flavors with me. So no telling how much exposure I've gotten because of that. The third thing for me is my faith. I've been really open and honest and vulnerable about growing in my faith. And I share about it all the time on my page. And people will tell me all the time that they join me or they follow me. They join my groups because my faith is inspiring to them. And they do want to start a health journey with me, but they're also interested in growing spiritually. And because I share that, they want to join me. They didn't choose another coach. Or so even some of you on this call right now joined my team because you saw that I have a team full of faith-filled women. Like, how incredible is that I was chosen because of something that I've used to brand me and brand my team. It's that powerful. You can share health and fitness stuff as much as you want, but the way people start trusting you is through the other things that you share. They're going to sign up with you because of who you are, not what you offer. So you've got to have that balance. Of course, yeah, you've got to share the programs and you've got to share the nutrition stuff and you've got to share that you're working out. But you will not be successful if you don't learn how to share the other parts of you too, because people care about that stuff more than you know. And then the last thing that I share on my page pretty consistently is just my weirdness and my goofiness and my silliness. And I fully believe that's why a lot of people follow me, because I'm always posting like just random silly stuff like dancing or singing or just, I don't know, the most random things. But people want to trust you and know that you are real and authentic. So the more you can share just about you, the better. Your brand will constantly be evolving because you are constantly evolving. Just now in the last couple months, actually in the last week, I guess, because that's when I announced, but I announced I'm expecting like a week ago. So my brand is changing already. My brand is changing. I changed my bio to match that. I want people to know that right now my life is consumed with growing a baby and I'm entering this next phase of motherhood, and my brand is changing because of it. Before I got pregnant, I talked a lot about not having kids. And I talked a lot about waiting to have kids. And I talked a lot about traveling with just my husband and our dating story, and the fact that we didn't have kids. And now that my life is changing and my life is evolving, my brand is evolving too. So your brand is ever changing because you are ever changing. And that's pretty much all I have. Haley?
Okay, well, I should have went first because I don't know if I can follow it, but so what I want to kind of touch base on is going off of what Paige was saying and how that can be considered. Like, I always feel like I have a more successful day of coaching if I can get a good day of making connections about that kind of stuff versus sending invites to my challenge group. So I've been reaching out to some of you checking in the Diamond Push group, like, how are you liking it? All this kind of stuff. And I've gotten some feedback from people from both of our teams that, well, I just haven't had time. I work a lot, and on the weekends I'm unplugged with family, so I just haven't had time to, to work a lot. But you guys, just because you don't have time to sit down and crank out messages to invite to your challenge group or invite to the coaching opportunity, you can still show up for your business without even taking time away from what you're doing, if that makes sense. So like I was talking to Paige, I'm like, okay, I have found, like, if I follow teachers, so I don't know what life is like as a teacher and all the behind the scenes things, okay? So I remember this one coach one time, I was following her, and she's a teacher. So mind you, like, you guys teachers have no time to coach or anything during the day, right? But she would snap little pictures, like if she had a second grader hand in a paper, and we all know how second graders spell and like say things, right? It's hilarious. So she would take a picture of like homework that they handed in that was just comical. And I laughed so hard over it. And I loved going to her stories and being like, oh my God, what did she get from a second grader today? Because it was just so funny. Or like when she took papers home at night to correct, and if she found something funny on the papers, she would like put it on her stories, obviously like not broadcasting the name and everything, but sharing like life of a teacher. And so then people would connect with that or go to her page or love to follow her because she shared that. So she technically was like branding herself, building connections, making friendships without even cranking out a power hour, if that makes sense. So when you're unplugged on the weekend, I know like I get it. We want to be present with our family, right? But people love to see like, okay, what did you do with your family? Like, where did you go? Oh, we climbed Mount Everest. Okay, well, take a few pictures. Like, it only takes 30 seconds to do a little 30-second clip on the weekend of a little thing you're doing. Like, we're not asking you to like be on your phone 12 hours out of the day during family vacation. It's literally those random things about your family. Like, people love when I am like letting them in on date night. Obviously, I'm not on my phone the whole time, but I literally like right when we sit down, I'll like show them where we're at or whatever, and then I'll show them my food. And then maybe if we're jamming out on the way home, I'll show a 30-second clip of it, and they just love that. So even though you feel like you can't work your business because you're busy and stuff at your job, take the time to just do the things that I say are working without showing up, because you really are just showing parts of who you are, and that's what people are going to love about you. Also, one thing that I started to do recently was Fun Fact Friday. So on Friday, basically all I do is every fun fact I think of about myself, I share it on Instagram, like on my stories, and people loved that. They were constantly commenting on things like the randomest things, you guys, like one thing was like I chew probably 8 pieces of gum a day. Like, I never even thought that, not everyone chews that much gum every day. But when I sat like on Fun Fact Friday, I had my mindset on, okay, every little thing you do, keep an eye on it today. So I went to my purse to grab gum, and I'm like, okay, this is my 3rd piece of gum. So I shared it. Oh, 3rd piece of gum, I'll probably have 5 more today. People were like, what? And then for so long, I like hid or didn't tell anyone because I was kind of embarrassed that I take Miralax every day. Like, struggle there, okay? But it was something that I didn't like to talk about. It's not the greatest thing to talk about. You guys, I shared that on Fun Fact Friday, and I'm not kidding you. I think 50 women messaged me about them having trouble going to the bathroom, or it was nurses telling me that I didn't have to be afraid of taking Miralax every day, or it was women asking me or recommending things, like, oh, you should try this. Like, me hiding that for so long, but yet when I opened up about it, so many women privately reached out to me. It's just like those kind of things, you guys, things that you're like, oh, like this isn't, this isn't a part of me, but really it is. like a month, I had a mango every single day in my meal plan. And people now, when they, like Paige said, when they go shopping and they see mangoes, they tag me in it on Instagram. And I'm like, okay, like cool, I'm the mango girl, I guess. Also recipes. People love recipes. Like that is the number one thing when I ask people, what do you like coming to my page for? The number one thing is recipes. And you guys, it doesn't take much to give a free recipe every now and then. And like Paige said, they save those posts because a recipe is something you're going to go make later. So if you can think of it, I just a few weeks ago did an IGTV on cauliflower pizza casserole, and now everyone's making it and they're tagging me it on Instagram. So it's those little things, you guys, when you're doing those daily things, like Paige said, I feel like I'm kind of repeating what Paige said, but I can't like stress it enough. It's the littlest things that you're just giving free info to people about. So I think what Paige and I are trying to tell you is like, yes, the 100 messages are important. That's why we have you do them. But it's also just as, if not more important, to share the random things. Come out of your shell, you guys. You are now an influencer. I watched a Power Hour the other day and it said, to be a social media influencer, you have to be social. And that's so true. Like you can't just be behind the scenes, getting on team call and sending out 5 messages to your challenge group every week. Like it becomes taking conversations about random things to random women. And I always tell people I tell my coaches, when I sit down for a Power Hour, I don't sit down and say, okay, I would love to get a challenge pack sold in this hour. I sit down and say, how many friendships can I go and make in this hour? How many new people can I bring to my page? That is my number one goal. So, like I said, Fun Fact Fridays, think of your favorites. What's your favorite bath and body lotion? What's your favorite hairstyle? What's your favorite? Because I guarantee you guys, we all have different favorites. We all have different favorites when it comes to Shakeology. We all have different favorites when it comes to workouts. We all have different favorites when it comes to animals. We all have, literally, I guarantee not one of us has 3 things that are favorites in our life that are the same. So think of what are my favorites and start to share your favorites more on your social media. I also think it's easier to post about. That stuff's fun to share versus posting about a transformation or your next boot camp or inviting. I think it's fun to just come out and be who you are and tell people fun facts about yourself. And then lastly, polls. I have found great engagement coming from polls and doing do you prefer do you prefer cauliflower pizza crust or bread pizza crust? Do you prefer unwitches or sandwiches with bread? Do you prefer country music or rap music? Do you prefer blonde short hair or long brunette hair? Or a huge one, people love to get their input on outfits. So if you ever have to go on date night or get dressed up, ask their opinion and they're going to give it. And then I go and every single time I put a poll on my stories asking their input or opinion, I go and private message every single person who votes, because that is an opportunity for me to get conversations going. So yesterday I made a homemade vinaigrette that I found in the Ultimate Reset thing, and it had maple syrup in it. I've never bought maple syrup. This was the first time I've ever used it. So I asked in my stories, do you use maple syrup? And every single person who answered my polls, I went and private messaged them. And I said, oh my gosh, what do you use maple syrup for? I just made a homemade vinaigrette for the first time. I'll send you the recipe. And I sent them all the recipe. So they're not only getting a part of me, a new part of me, but they're also like, dang, she's giving me free recipes. And then that could also open the book in 3 days when you're inviting to your challenge group. Go message them, say, hey, did you get to try that vinaigrette? Is healthier eating something you've been working on in 2020? Just always strive to use connections and conversations to lead into the challenge pack. Because I, for so long, you guys, thought that I would go find someone to join my boot camp, and then during them being in my boot camp, I'd become closer friends with them. It's reversed. You got to go build the friendship, and then they'll be in your boot camp or your challenge group or on your team. So, I think that's basically what I have. And I just like the last thing I have here is just showing up without like, feeling like you have to invite. So, I just let people in behind the scenes, you guys. Don't unplug 100%, because that's like, we're here. Our business is to be on social media. Like, you just have to face the facts that I know there's a stigma out there going around that like being on your phone all the time is the worst thing in the world. Okay, like, yeah, there's a healthy relationship, but we are social media people. Like, that's what our business is. So you have to be social. You have to show up on social media, and you have to let people know who you are. And it's so funny because I feel like I'm like best friends with Paige, and we've never met in person. But we just are, doing the app, Marco Polo, like doing Marco Polo and being on team calls and just chatting. I feel like I've known her my whole life. So that's the power we have to make connections through social media.
I have 3 thoughts based off of what you said, just quick things. Number 1, it is not nearly as scary to invite people when you feel like they know you, because I feel like our fears come from, what are they going to think of me? If you're sharing honestly, vulnerably, and authentically, they probably do know you, and they know that your intentions are pure. And if not, great, unfollow. They can unfollow you. The second thought I have is your followers should know the majority of the answers to those questions that I asked you at the beginning. And if they don't, you need to start sharing more. I guarantee you, I was looking through them. I feel like my followers could answer a good portion of those for me right now because I've shared that stuff consistently. And then the last thing I wanted to mention is that people will engage most. Your Instagram will grow most when you are sharing all of those little things that we've talked about just now. And that's a really important piece to growth, is just sharing things that relate to people. Like, that's a really big deal. So we have one more really exciting part of tonight that I am stoked about. We have one announcement, and I hope that the person that has the announcement remembers. I'm looking at her, but I'm sure she can't tell. So I have 2 coaches that are going to share. Yeah, she does. I saw her eyes. I have 2 coaches that are going to share. They're both in the Diamond group. They're just going to share quickly what's working really well for them this month, and they'll tell you why they've been asked to share. And then what they're loving about the Diamond group and how it's helping them move their businesses forward. So Morgan, will you go first? And then Shelby, will you follow Morgan? And then I think Haley has 1 or 2. Go for it, Morgan.
Hi. Yeah, I have been in love with this business this month, and it's just been, my soul's been set on fire. And my big motivation, honestly, really kicked off when I had a conversation with my husband, and he was questioning all the things I was buying with Beachbody, and he is very, 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 very frugal man. And so I was getting really frustrated and upset with him because he was just questioning, oh, you have to buy this. Oh my goodness. Why do you have to buy this? Why do you have to buy this? Just constantly asking me about my purchases of Beachbody. And I'm like, I'm covering it. I'm paying for it. And I am, but I'm just covering it, if that makes sense. So I'm covered every month, but I'm not like making a crazy amount of profit. So I told him, like, give me time, watch me work. And so he's been my motivation to just get after it, especially last month and this month. So last month I hit Success Club 10. And then this month I'm already at Success Club 14, and I'm like on fire. And a big part of it is a couple things: the Diamond Push group, getting out all those messages. Now, mine have not been 100% the 100 messages, but I've been making a lot of connections and trying to do. I love that this call was tonight, because I feel like this weekend especially, I did some different things. I went to Old Navy and I shared some things that I tried on. Yo, people, go do a try on or something. I've had more engagement than ever on that, as well as a transformation post that I posted just kind of about my journey. And people love giving their opinion on clothes. So whatever your thing is, ask them their opinion, even without a poll, because then people will get in your inbox if they want to say something. So you don't always have to put a poll. Polls are great. I did one with a poll and one without a poll, and I had a ton of messages, and then I had like 30 40 people vote on my poll, which is, I'm like, what? Because, you know, we put out our, do you want to join me poll? And then you get those weird scam accounts that vote, and then maybe one or two other people, which is super annoying that they have those. But I'm absolutely loving just diving into this community. You guys, if you're on a team cup, dive in. Talk to your people all the time. Motivate and push each other. Like my team, you can Schmidt with us. Seriously, I get so fired up when I see, oh, I got a challenge pack. Oh, I got this. Oh, share cart sent. It just motivates me. I'm like, well, crap. I need to get a share card out. I need to get my butt going. And I was sick this last week too. So even though I'm already at Success Club 14, I was like, oh my goodness, I need to get going. And we're only in the second week of the month. So if you have not hit Success Club, if you have not gotten any Success Club points yet, do not be discouraged. Keep going. It's only the 16th. It's only the 16th. And so I just wanted to let you know, dive into your community, whatever that looks like, if it's a team cup, if it's your team, whatever it is, if you're on this team call, obviously you want to move your business forward, go all in and get in people's inboxes. Whatever your thing is, all these tips that they just give you, talk about that. One, it is more fun to have those kind of conversations and it makes things flow more naturally. And I think that that has been something huge for me. I feel like my brand, part of my brand is my husband. People love what I post about him. So he's part of my brand, and whatever your brand is, share about it. So if your hubby likes to be weird and goofy with you, share about it. You know, if you have a dog named Murph that you got to drag on the floor, do it. So that's what I want to encourage you is just like go all in with your community and just take these tips and utilize them.
Shelby?
Okay, yeah, so I'm Shelby, and I'm on a Team Cup with Morgan, so retweet everything that she said about Team Cup and community. And that's something that I've, like, loved since the very beginning, but honestly, since, like, about the end of December, beginning of January, I knew that, like, for a while that I wanted to take this business full-time when I finished grad school, which is, like, this coming December. But I found myself like saying that about like, oh, I want to go full time when I'm done with grad school. And then one day, like the end of December, I was like, time out. That's like in a year from now. I need to get my butt in gear. And so honestly, the biggest thing was making sure that I was actually following up with people that I said I was going to follow up with. And so that's how I got all of my Success Club points in January, which I hit Success Club 12. But so doing that, but then also Haley kind of said this earlier, just like making sure that I am making connections with people like that have nothing to do with what we do, because they are way more apt to even just have a conversation and not ghost me if we've talked about something else, like some random thing, or how we're both like just a hot mess or we're sevens or whatever it is, like random stuff, being able to do that. And then the other thing is taking care of the coaches that I already have and helping them be successful, which I didn't really get a whole lot of like working coaches until like the end of December and then in January, which was like super awesome. But because I've been like praying for that, and so then to see that and to see people like want to actually work it and then to be able to help them and to be able to pour into them has been so amazing and so life-giving. And so actually I had two girls that both hit Emerald on Friday, and so they'll like rank advance officially on Thursday, and so we'll be Diamond on Thursday, which is super exciting, and I'm so pumped. But I also am just so pumped for them because they have finally seen like, okay, this is totally possible. Like I can make money with this and still have my other job, or maybe leave my other job, or whatever it is. It just creates like so much possibility. And so yeah.
Before I pass it on to Haley's coaches, I want to mention, can you not feel Morgan and Shelby's energy and positivity right now? Because that goes further than you could ever imagine. I have a Team Cup team that is like consistently lifting each other up, consistently making sure that we don't have negative vibes in our group. And that has been a game changer, because when you're not like plugged in and you're not held accountable for even your own attitude, you can really start going into a downward spiral if you're sitting at like Success Club 0 or 2 on the 15th. But there's so much power in just encouraging one another to keep a positive mindset, number one, and number two, keep doing the things, because we know when we do the things that it does come. And that has been a game changer even for me in Team Cup this month, because it's the consistent positivity it's just like it sets everybody on fire, and I've felt that this month too. So I love that. Haley, passing it to you.
All right, so I'm gonna have Jen talk about kind of her experience the past few months and her experience in the Diamond Push and things like that. So go ahead, Jen.
Okay. Hi, guys. I'm Jen, like Haley said. I have been coaching, so you would say, since May of 2019, but right away I was really fired up. I was going all in. I was posting everything. Like the first week or month when you join as a coach, you're really fired up and you're like, I can do this, I can do this, I can do this. And then I went to Summit, and after Summit, I was like, oh my gosh, this is what I want to do. I want to do this full time eventually, maybe after maybe even doing it full time while I'm at my full time job. But anyway, so after Summit, I kind of fell off the wagon. I quit posting what I had been posting about for like the last 3-4 months. And I wasn't showing up for myself. I wasn't getting my workout in. I wasn't responding back to my challengers. And then that caused them to not be motivated. And I honestly almost quit coaching because I was getting negative feedback from people. They were saying, well, what you're doing is a pyramid scheme. I hate that. And some people even said, well, you're not qualified enough. You probably don't know what you're doing, and you don't know how to help people lose weight if you tried, or just things like that. So, and I wasn't messaging people. That was the scariest thing I've ever done. Thanks to this group, I've been sending messages like crazy now, which I'm so proud of that we decided to have that be a thing. But I don't know, this group has just the last 2 months, I feel like, and just seeing other people show up, I have been really showing up for my own business, and people are seeing that. And I even had people message me and say, oh, before when you weren't really posting anything, I just thought you really liked your workouts and that you weren't even coaching. So it really shows if you do show up and just what you're doing, not even just coaching, just sharing things like you guys have said earlier, sharing things that you like to do on the weekend or things that you're interested in. You will be surprised, like even if you put polls on your page, how many people will respond to those polls. And then it's so easy for you just to reach out to people and make more connections. And it's honestly so fun. I had around like 80 people message me about my, I posted America's Next Top Model because I was watching it on Hulu the other day. Even men were messaging me, be like, oh my gosh, I used to watch that with my mom all the time. So it's just showing up for yourself and being consistent with your business. People are watching that. Even if it's only been for 2 months or a week, people will notice what you're doing. And if, I don't know, they'll follow that and eventually they might join you. So, and don't be afraid to send like a double message to someone. Like if you messaged someone like a month ago and they said, maybe I was kind of interested, but maybe later, go and message them again. You never know if they're going to be ready or not to sign up, but you might surprise yourself. Even if the people that you thought, they probably don't want anything to do with what I'm doing, I don't think I should message them. Go for it. You will surprise yourself so much, because I've had a lot of people respond back to my messages the last week, 2 weeks, I would say, because this has been going on for like 2 weeks. And they're people I before probably never would have messaged, and that would be an opportunity that I totally would have missed. Someone that I never would have been able to become friends with or make a good connection with. So yeah, just keep showing up for yourself. If anybody says that what you're doing is like you shouldn't be doing it, just ignore it. Just keep doing what you're doing. So yeah, that's what I got.
And another thing is one thing about a few of my girls in the Diamond Push group that just makes me so incredibly proud is that they're not only putting in the work of doing the 100 messages, but you guys, they haven't hit Success Club 10 yet. You know, they haven't had a ton of yeses, but they're still showing up. And that makes me so damn proud, because I know that they're going to see success. And I just can't preach that enough to my girls and to all of you in here who may not be getting yeses yet, but you're still doing the messaging. Like, proud of you, keep going, and do not get discouraged that you're not there yet. You know, I just want to point that out.
I think it's most important to keep doing the things when you're not doing well, because if you're that inconsistent that your Success Club points determines how hard you're willing to work, you're never actually going to be successful. And you have to rethink your actual intentions. Are you in it for the money? Are you in it for the whatever? Like, are you actually in it to help people? If you feel like giving up whenever people aren't saying yes, you have to believe in what we offer enough to work through the dry spells, because they're going to happen.
And I actually heard a statistic or like a Beachbody statistic one time, that your efforts now will show 3 months in your business, 3 months from now in your business. So if you think about it, we just started this Diamond Push Group and this 100 messaging challenge. So you may not even see these messages show up until February, March, April, May. So I know it sucks, like, to have to wait that long and be like, oh my God, but just remember that, like, it will show, and it might not be immediately, but if you stay with it, it will show up in like 3 months from now. Because why that is, you guys, is because those connections you're making and those people you're reaching out to and warming up to, they have to watch you for 3 months before they trust you. They're watching you really hard right now. So that's why you got to keep showing up and keep going.
And going off of what Haley said, like, most people want someone to help them that is consistent. Like, I feel like a lot of people are just reaching out because they're like, oh, someone that's consistent, I want that. I want someone to hold me accountable to, like, 21-day program. Like, I bet people, like, I know some people that were like, I don't think I can do it for 21 days. But having other people do it with you to hold you accountable, a lot of people want that. So.
And you're never going to get the luxury. I mean, even when you're 2 and 3 years into your business, you still have to invite and make connections, but you will never get the luxury of people reaching out to you first if you're not willing to be consistent for 2 to 3 years first. So keep that in mind when you're like, nobody ever reaches out to me. Well, duh, because you've got to show up and do the things for a really long time before somebody trusts you enough to reach out on their own. Like, that takes years of consistency. So they know without a doubt that you're going to show up for them too. Okay, so 100 no's, people. Show them. Hold them up. And keep them up, because we have to write them down. And shout out to Ashley. She got the Starbucks gift card from last week. Ashley, are you here? I don't know her last name.
Yeah. Thank you.
Haley, are you holding yours up? Yes. Okay.
Me?
Oh, sorry. No,
I was like, I can't write currently, so I
the
just
other Haley.
yeah.
I just didn't know if I should put her name down. Okay, hold on. I'm taking. Oh, also, I want to mention, last week I had at least 3 girls message me with their 100 no's after the call, and a couple of them were like, I started after the call. So get it. I'm still taking them down. Keep them up. Okay, I think I have all of mine. Haley, do you have anything else? Okay. Well,
Nope. Let's just not let off the gas pedal.
yes, agreed. Keep working hard. We'll see you next Sunday. Thanks for being here. We know it's a commitment. We know it's a sacrifice. We know you have a million things you could be doing. So have a great
Y'all
Sunday.
better boomerang this. Vamp up the coach life.
That's right. If you haven't put it on your story, do it now. And we'll see you next Sunday.